Alright, so I know a lot hasn't changed since I put out the previous version of this deck about 2 weeks ago, but there was one change that I was actually very excited about, and that is to the An Craite Warrior. So it got a very humble buff. It went from 3 base power to 4 base power, but I think it's actually really good in this list because there are going to be times where we don't have enough engine removal, and if we bring this back from the grave with either the Herald or Fucusya, we're getting that 3 damage immediately, plus board stored pings like the An Craite Raiders and the Brokvar Hunters are really going to extend our reach. So I felt very confident bringing this back into the deck, and this was a awkward spot for me to fill in the version that I published 2 weeks ago, so I'm really glad that it sees its place here. And the reason why I'm doing this video today on patch day is because some of you guys might be frustrated with some of the matchups you're facing. Maybe you want to go back to something you're comfortable with. This is going to be the most optimized version of Warriors in the game right now, in my opinion. So that's that. I did consider putting War of Clans. I should have sorted by devotion here. So I did consider putting War of Clans, obviously, to bring back the An Craite Warrior or the Tursic Invader or the Marauder, but it came down to provisions. In order to fit War of Clans, we would have had to put maybe Judah down for a 5, because everything else has to stay the way it is, in my opinion, and it just didn't work out. So I'm just relying on having the An Craite Warrior resurrection from either the Herald or Fucusya. I think it's a really good pull off the Fucusya because the Rain is going to be spawned for 6 turns in addition to bringing back this card. So we're going to be doing 12 damage over 6 turns of Rain, plus the 3 damage that this does when it comes back, and then the 4 base power points. So this is like a little half-ru Fucusya swing, basically like the Warriors version of it, which is really nuts. And I'm just excited to play the deck today. I'm not going to get into the complete deck guide, strategy, and all that type of stuff as much in this video in the beginning because I just published it. I'll be putting a link to the other deck guide if you haven't seen it, so you can go there as a reference point to the core strategy. But for now, we'll get into the games, and I will provide play-by-play commentary. This is going to be post-game commentary because my new mic cables just came in, and I wanted to get the gameplay done first and sit back and set it up after and really enjoy it. So let's get into the games, and I have 4 games for you guys today. And don't worry about it, I will be back tomorrow. I'm planning out new decks for the patch of 10.2. I've got Northern Realms in the works. I've got Syndicate in the works. I have some ideas for Scoia'tael that I'm just putting on the back burner because I've just did 2 videos for Scoia'tael, and there's a couple other little things I'm working on. So I will be rapid firing content over the next couple days, working around the clock so that you guys have what you need in order to get started in the season. But for now, let's get into these games, and we'll worry about that stuff later. Alright, and for the first game here, we got Northern Realms Inspired Zeal, and this could be mages or it could be siege. In this case, it is mages. And we have a lot of good removal reach with our Gutting Slash, with the Marauders and whatnot, the discard package. We have a pretty good draw in round 1, with exception to Judah here. I don't really want to see that. So we do struggle for proactivity a little bit. We can't really play anything else because most of which would be deploy. So we kind of have to float this here. I opted to float it because we still pull off the discards if they remove it with the Burna. But I want to maximize the damage that we can do. So with them coming down with the duel, it's actually kind of nice to see. We can start to tempo here anyways. With the discards, we have 2 of the skirmishers in hand. Might as well take the 3rd one while we're at it. I don't think that I'm going to want to go and take Fucusya here for a coral. So we'll just get this set up in the grave so that we can bring it back for the extra damage later.
Please, I'm just a messenger.
a little bit of a slow play for them following a duel. So I could take advantage of this a little bit and just play some of our bronze cards. Obviously Peller there is a really good Purify, but we still have enough room so that if they pull Amphibious or something like that, we're still in front. And sure enough, we get a pass at 7. I find that's kind of wild because took the duel plus the leader charge and passed at 7. I don't think it was really necessary to have to contest the Coral in that case, though. And so now we can go look at fixing the hand a little bit. We can put back Jutta. Maybe go for something a little bit better than the Marauder here. And that should just be fine. If we go ahead and play a card or two, help establish the grave, maybe we can see what they respond with, and maybe we'll get some big commitments. Raffritz comes down here. This is kind of what I was looking for. The panic play. Trying to get these engines online. Now I opt to remove this here because I don't want them to play down to 7, then just restore it and have the Zeal. We'll make them work for it a little bit more than that, but we're probably going to have to pass here. And without questions, we get out of the round here because obviously if we play another card, it's going to be very difficult to get that card back. I don't think that we'll be able to. That's fine. They only have the range row set up by the end of this, so we don't have to worry too much about Zeal and the alumni, right? They'll have to try really hard in round 3 in order to get the melee student online. Draws are pretty good. I kind of like pulling into Jutta here because we can take the mulligan and not have to worry about pulling into her later. I definitely need to grab Herald. We have potentially 2 discards with the Burnabrand off the Fucusya. I know I'm probably going to be taking one of the discards. Okay, pulling it's just perfect. This is probably the best hand you can ask for. Maybe one more An Craite Raider and you're done, but so I don't really want to take a leader Eist here. I kind of want to get our engines online, and you see I'm thinking about it, but I think we end up taking Herald here. Just kind of thinking about it. Now, I like to chip away at it. I think that then if we can do that here, it doesn't get boosted, we could take the Scoia'tael, and that's kind of the idea, right? Take the Scoia'tael or just deal with something else. I think turning that offline is probably the best play. And so now Shani sits at 4. And if we can remove Shani, then we should be fine. But got to take care of that student. We have leader for Shani. We have the Turgvi as well. There's definitely a couple options, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Them boosting it up adds value to the leader. The cooldown's at 2. I gotta respect that. I think it's time to take it out. A little bit of an early Eist, but I think it's fine. So we have a decent Morkvark setup at this point, but I'm sure we can probably find a better one. If we can keep their units low on the board, or as low as possible, then we know that they have most of the boosts established from their patience, and we can get a better Morkvark. I just don't want them to have a lot of damage stored. It's probably the most points with Coral. Just because I like that extra damage. We take care of the Morkvarg here, right? And I'm hoping that we could snipe a shield off. Nice. It definitely helps a little bit, right? We can go in with the Brokvar Hunter. We can start chipping away at some things. Maybe we get a lucky ping off the Herald. That could be quite deadly, and obviously they're going to respect it, so that's out of range now. I think we just have to sequence to get the max amount of points over the course of the game, opposed to just dealing with the threats immediately. I'm confident that we should be fine in the game, but it's going to be closer than it looks. And I'm still floating the Raider because I feel like we might need to spend it a certain way, and just we need to have that flexibility.
Magic is all around. You need but reach out and grasp it.
And I know there's an argument to take maybe the Raider ping off the Herald, bring back the Herald, then take the Coral discard. But I think we just want to keep this for when we need it. See, I know that they're probably going to do something with that alumni in the back row. It's just at 5 power, it's kind of a bad spot. Because we don't have the time to go in with the Brokvar Hunter and make it work. And so this is what I was afraid of here. They have the chapter order. They've got front row minus the 6 off the Letitia. I don't know if it really matters what we go for here. With the ping. Maybe not the lowest unit because they could boost the lowest unit. Maybe it takes away from a Morkvarg, so we'll hit something like that. Again, still haven't made up my mind with the Raider.
But we shall prevail.
But it holds on. And they don't have... They don't have the Zeal there. But even if they did, it wouldn't have mattered. And we both know it. So, moving on to the next one here, we've got Precision Strike, and this one's going to be like a Maddock Bombs type matchup. Gonna get rid of that Jutta in round 1. And I don't love Brokvar Hunters here, but I also don't like the Warriors necessarily in a no unit. At this point, I didn't know. But you kind of have to leave both options open. I think 1 in the round's fine. We'll find out pretty shortly. If you guys haven't seen, I put out a Precision Strike deck that is like an Alzur Orbs, Vigo's Muzzle type deck. That was the first deck that I did of the season. So if you're looking for something that encompasses a lot of the card reworks, go check that one out. And you guys can upvote that if you like it on the Gwent website as well. Kind of want to remove that so that we can actually just do something with the Raider ping in the back row. The 2 damage is pretty valuable, so there we go. Leader ping just takes it out. At least we made them work for it.
I can do a great deal more for you.
If it's the boosty version of Precision Strike, then they don't really value the leader as much in my opinion. But if it's the control version where it's just like really bombs and Maddock and low unit and all that type of stuff, then they really like that leader because that really helps set up their plays. So seeing a charge there is pretty valuable for us, and the tempo from Coral actually helps us out quite a bit. Now, we're not out of the round yet, because they can go crank full leader and play maybe a Simlas or something, right? Yeah, you see, I think that's what they did here.
Train not ignorant. Remember to whom you speak.
Can't say I love double bombs off Simlas. I've done it before. Like, I've had Simlas basically having to pull double bombs because I didn't get my other options, but that's the problem about Simlas and Madoc decks together, is that you kind of want to run Simlas with like nature cards or spell cards, and you kind of want to just run, obviously, Madoc with bombs, so it doesn't feel optimal when we pull it that way. Now, we'll just play cards and see how far they can test the round, and if there's a way out, we'll take it. Basically comes down to that. We still got to play a little bit more. Probably just take the Gutting Slash here. It's a little bit slow, but we got the bleeding that might help us out. And that'll do it. I was thinking about continuing to play, but then I realized that we don't really have anything we could play that's going to really matter. Tergvi's bad here, Jutta's bad here, King Brand doesn't really do a lot, and the Marauder's kind of slow. So we go for the pass, we take the round tie, they have to play in order to get ahead, and I think they will. They did a pretty good job of thinning the deck out early on. They've got 4 less cards than us. Obviously Simlas and Leader was the difference. We got our decent discards though, so we shouldn't have too much trouble pulling what we need. I guess they didn't really value the lock reset. Makes sense. I'm not really boosting all that. Like 1 card here that'll boost. And even then, I don't think we're going to really get it to boost. So now we know what we're playing against, which is valuable. So I don't think the Brokvar Hunter is really good for us. I want to have mostly deploy effects on my cards. Okay, so we can actually defend card, and I think in this matchup it's going to be very important for us to maintain last say. So what I'm trying to do here is basically play around the Sabertooth and make sure that we can get into round 3 with an extra card so that we can go and we can take the Morkvarg on the Gord, because once I see this sort of strategy unfolding, then I'm assuming that they're running Gord in the deck. And so we will take damage, it's just a matter of trying to relieve some of it here. This would have been their pass, but I guess they were pretty confident that they were going to get that 2-0 or just really push us down to nothing. It's a little ambitious because we still have Leader. Maybe they just want to see the Eist, even if it means going card down, which could be the case, right? So now we can actually get the 2 discards, plus we could still hold the other discard that we have. It's got to be the bronzes, I think. Maybe the King Bran. It's not really great, but it might have to be. So that's actually a pretty clean removal here. We go take that, we take a discard, cleans up the Dunka. Now they're in a spot. So I don't think we're going to have any problem defending card here. The Simlas plays out of the way. It's okay, but it's not really great. I think the Raider is just fine if we float it here, and then we can probably look at playing the Tergvi. I want to put back the Jutta. That's something I don't want to play. But the thing is, I value the Jutta less than I value the other 2 cards in the hand. And I believe I look at the deck here shortly, and I see that we have a Morkvarg. So at least there's a unit in the deck that we could pull. There's actually a couple units that we can pull, and it might just be what we have to do. Because if we're thinking about short round, I mean, if they play a couple specials, then we might be in trouble. I think that's fine. We already have the answer to Gord with the Morkvarg, and they just play it here. So we go ahead and we take it out, right? So that was good. Not a bad matchup. Moving on to the next one here, we've got Battle Trance from Skellige. And this is probably one of the ones that should be bad for us. We do have an answer to 1 or 2 of the threats, but the problem is that there's just so many threats that it becomes tricky. And the fact that we're on blue coin is also a problem. I just really wanted discards there, and we happen to get the Burna. I'm thinking that we got to get out of the round and just try and defend, because the hand that we have at this point doesn't really feel competitive. Burna will buy us some time, but I don't think Burna is going to win the round, because normally Battle Trance will have the same discard package as us. That's pretty much it, right? So they'll always be maybe that 1 turn behind. Also, the healing effect from their leader puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage as well, because it makes it harder for us to get Bloodthirst. And they're actually just getting those points from the leader, so tough times. And we could take the discard here without the Burna because we don't have Coral. I was hoping to get Coral off of the Burna pull, and unfortunately it's a little bit late for that. Or off the leader pull, rather. We get it off the Burna pull instead. I think it's going to be a slash here. I kind of like the Marauder. It can help us maybe clean something that we have damaged already. That's not too bad. We have a 20-point lead. It is enough to get a comfortable pass, but we do just get passed on. At least we have a round. The problem is that this puts me in a spot where I probably have to play a long round 3, and I think that's exactly what they want. But we do have last say, so it makes a difference. We'll see how we top deck here. We have Jutta, so we can put that one back. Got to do the obvious mulligans first, I think, and then just kind of looking for more points. Gutting's a little underwhelming. I'd rather get the removal from the Raiders, for example, just having them here. But I think what we're doing in this round is just going to establish the grave a little bit. Maybe play 2 cards and get out. Maybe we get a Panic, Gedneth, or something like that. It's hard to say. See, something like that's actually nice to see here too. We'll just go play the other one. I think that we take the Resurrections off the Herald and Fucusya for the Raiders, because we haven't really played any expensive cards, and we got all of our discards out of the way, so I'm thinking that we take it for the most points. And I was hoping that they didn't get Mushy Truffle down as carryover, but that's just something we have to deal with now. That and Crow Mother so far. And we can't contest that anymore. There's no coming back from this situation, I don't think. Again, with the obvious mulligan here. Marauder's more reach for removal, but the Warrior's more points. And our draws are really bad. So, because we actually just would rather play those from grave or in round 1. If they draw well and we don't draw off a discard, then we're in trouble. I think I have to go Fucusya into a discard because I don't think we have a winning hand.
We serve her who is virgin, mother, and crown.
Listen here. Listen well.
Especially with a 13-point opener. Yeah. 6 points of storage on the board, plus the alchemy procs that it gives. It's kind of a problem. I want to play Fucusya here, but at the same time I don't just yet. This is kind of when I'm thinking about kind of what I'm going to do, and taking another turn to think about it's not bad because we'll never discard the invader. We'll likely discard the warrior first.
Something like some overseas plundering and spraying.
Coral's kind of annoying.
A raid's a raid. Matters not who's
I'm thinking we take it out before they go into Burna, but that's going to make them probably take Burna here. You just can't win.
We shall do it my way.
of course, friend.
Now, here's the problem. If we were to take Fucusya before playing these warriors, we might get Herald sooner, which will then help us get more pings from the Herald when we play these warriors. But the problem is, I'm holding out to see if there's any suitable target for our Eist combo prior, because we don't want to pull Jutta, otherwise we actually just lose and it's our fault no matter what, right? That's going to be a really bad play. We could play it from hand, but we really want that removal. And I think at this point, I'm looking at the score and I'm saying we have to. There's really no other option. If we don't take it now, we just probably can't win the game. And fortunately, we got the perfect mulligans here. I think we just got to tuck back both. I guess that's not bad. Yeah, okay, I think that's fine, because if they play the Crow Clan Preachers here, most of the time they're going to be playing a special in the same turn, so they're going to get 6. So the most points would be from the Warrior anyways. And let's try and get this down here finally, right? So we have 2 tall punishes, but the question is it enough? And I haven't been seeing a lot of the Dorgaray in these decks. More than often I'm seeing Remist. I wasn't expecting that. Obviously, if I was, I would have maybe taken the Invader or something instead, but
Travel makes one modest. Let's one see the bigger picture.
can't really prepare. They're spreading the points out quite well too here.
Worry not. We'll
I'm just waiting for the perfect opportunity. So far, my Eist is going to be the Crow Clan Preacher in the back. we could have removed that one with the Scoia'tael and the Raider if they hadn't locked it, so it actually plays for quite a good lock. And there's really nothing we can do. I think we have to Eist. I think we have to Eist soon, but so far not bonded. So far no scenario. And I'm surprised because they've done so many discards, right? So I don't think they're going to have it bonded. I think we're just fine at this point. Got an unlucky ping on the Crow clan, but I think we should have enough to win the game here because big swing of points, and whatever they play, we have an answer to here. So it's a heat wave, okay. You know, it's possible that with the increase in provisions to get Nith, they just decided not to run it. I don't know if that's the route I would go, but it's possible that that's the case. So there we have it. And moving on to the last game of the day, we have Nilfgaard, and it's going to be Imposter. So looking at the patch notes, there's been some changes to Nilfgaard, mainly surrounding the Masquerade Ball and all the status archetype, not as much Assimilate and stuff like that. And I wasn't expecting Assimilate to change. I was expecting maybe a little bit of support to other Nilfgaard archetypes. We'll see how we handle it here for the first time today.
Oh dear. Have I something in my tea?
We gotta love being on red coin here. This is perfect. And I like playing Masquerade a lot. At least once a month I'm putting out some kind of Masquerade Ball deck. I did a world record attempt for the longest deck guide. It was like 2.5 hours almost, and it featured 12 games with Masquerade Ball. That's how much I like the deck. But I recently put out a really cool one, and it's an Enslave 5 Masquerade Ball deck. Really sweet. I had a lot of fun playing that one. You can check it out. It's a few days old, and there aren't any nerfs to the list, so it's still playable in 10.2. So this play actually confused me quite a bit. Tutor for tutor for tutor for an assassin. Wait, so it was the Roderick for the Menno for the War Council, right? For the Fur Cart. For the that's wild. It's like hyper thin. And so they took the second Blightmaker here, but they're only at 18 points. So this tells me we have some room to push. And also we have some room to bleed. Because I'm not seeing Calvite here. So if they go into round 2 and we bleed them, then they're probably going to panic, right? Because this is a lot of provisions spent to thinning the deck. And we just take the bleed there. Just go there. Be nice to have some discards. Something like that's alright. We'll put down the Hunter and see what they do. You love it. You love to see it. And that's kind of what I expected. Because they don't want to go card down, so they have to play it now so that if I continue to play, they can stay in the round. And we caught them at a perfect time. They have to go play Masquerade Ball, 15 provisions spent here. That's the only disadvantage I find from playing that deck. Obviously Heat Wave affects it sometimes, but you can play around a Heat Wave. I think it's just, when you have Masquerade in the deck and you're relying on Blightmakers to take a round, you really got to win that round 1 so that you can go into that long round 3 looking for with Masquerade. And it's really good. We got a lot of provisions out of their deck, so I'm feeling pretty confident that we should be okay here. I think we have to take the Jutta Last Say, because otherwise they could take their leader and get it for tons of points on their side. Like, that could play for like 20 points, so we got to be careful with that. And you're about to see one of my favorite interactions in the game. Mork Varg off a Fian. Beautiful sight. Take care of that right away. I know what they're doing. They're going in with the Philippe, and we have an answer to that with this Scoia'tael. So, really good news here. Everyone wants to try that out on patch day. It's just too bad we missed the Herald. I think we take this. I don't think that they're going to lock it, take it right now. They probably want to get some engines out there or something first before they go and do all that. So we might be able to pull off the Raider here and maybe just use it for damage so that we don't lose it. Okay. This is my first time again playing against Nilfgaard this season. So I'm just kind of seeing what ideas are going around. And like I mentioned before, guys, I will be back tomorrow with another video, maybe even sooner, depends on when I come up with what I'm doing. And we're going to be doing something brand new for this, so stay tuned for that one. And Scoia'tael comes down, answers it, and we got exactly what we're looking for. And that'll just be it for them. We'll see you soon.